Welcome. It's halftime of the big Thursday night football game, and so we have Seattle Seahawks football to talk about. We've got tape, we've got takes from the tape, we've got how bad was it really on the defense. I think that's probably the film we're going to watch, which that's not really a surprise. We are a defense-leaning podcast after all, as much as we like everything. And Geno played a great game, and we'll talk about that. First, preamble.
Yeah, do we love Geno as much as we love defense? Like Geno himself.
Depends what defense, right?
True.
Chat, thank you for your questions. I've starred them. Not as busy tonight though in the chat. Maybe the Thursday night football game is gripping people more. Maybe Friday's a better evening to do things. I imagine it's a combination. First person in the chat to guess what logo I'm wearing wins a true overloader title. Right. Griff, have we spoke about yum yums before? I feel like we have.
Vaguely. Yum yums.
A yum yum.
What's a yum yum?
I've no idea why they're called yum yums. They're like kind of a twisted donut, and they're like long and thin, almost like a finger, but they have a twist in them. But I've no idea why they're called yum yums.
Between a donut and a croissant, we have these guys. We have a word for that over here. They're slightly different though.
What's the word for that?
I'm blanking. I think we call them like a twist. Like a cinnamon twist?
No. Yeah, but these aren't cinnamon.
They're often flavored that way. But okay, so these are just like regular, like old-fashioned glazed donuts in the form of like a braid almost.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I'd say a 4-pack.
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah.
You're a growing young man, and you need your sustenance. You need to consume.
I'm a grown boy. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Jay, congratulations. You're a true overloader. There you go. Enjoy that.
Matty, are you looking forward to the season finale of Rings of Power? It released today, and I know you love that show.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that you're not like a Lord of the Rings nerd.
Yeah, I never got into that at all.
Huh.
I read The Hobbit and loved The Hobbit, and then I tried to read the first book, and I was a bit young.
Yeah.
I was like 8, and the first book was like very long and detailed.
Yeah. I read them in...
Never watched it?
How did you never watch it? It's like it's like a rite of passage, especially on your side of the pond. The man.
Well, maybe that's why I didn't watch it.
Because you wanted to be counterculture, or like...
That's what I was going to say. Countercultural, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Do people talk about Tolkien a lot over there? Like just in
all the time.
Does he just get brought up at times?
Yeah. You'll be at your Sainsbury's. You'll pop into Sainsbury's and you'll do your shop, and you'll be going to check out, and the cashier will be like, "Oh, did you see that that car crash the other day? That was very Tolkien-y."
Oh, okay, I see where you're going with this. Yeah, you're throwing it back in my face. I meant no offense, my man, but I was just wondering.
My man.
I'm enjoying the show, and I've read the books, and I have.
Well, isn't it nice how people can enjoy different things?
Isn't that great?
Lovely.
People should enjoy what they want to enjoy. Unless I don't like it, then they can't like it. No, I'm kidding. I do have like minor quibbles, but my quibbles aren't really like lore based. It's not like source material based. I don't really mind the lore changes or adaptations, because if you play that game, I mean, like the Peter Jackson trilogy, they really muck up some characters, but it still works for the films. I
Oh,
know
you
Tolkien purists. There's a very small minority, but it's vocal, that don't like the Peter Jackson films. My criticisms of the show is more like just the nature of like television right now. Kind of more like production background stuff. You know what I mean?
not paying the writers, or
Well, I didn't mean that, although I'm sure that's part of it. But I think the way the business is constructing itself right now, the industry, it's not allowing for the best product always to get put on the screen. Um,
huh?
like I think like the pacing is weird sometimes, and then like the tone shifts. Like I think it's in the editing, and I do not have the chops to really speak on that. But like when suspense or there's supposed to be buildup, it feels like it should be more profound. It doesn't hit, but then they'll do something else like character to character dynamics like really really well sometimes. And I'm like, okay, I'm like locked in again. I don't know, stuff like that. Maybe they're trying to balance too many storylines, because there are like 5 or 6 pretty significant storylines that are. Anyway, look,
You
Matty.
just made my OCD start going.
Um,
I feel very shiny today.
well, you're a glowing kind of guy. You're a shiny guy.
I am. It might be because of my hat.
Look, Matty, we can't sit here and talk Rings of Power the whole time. I know you'd like to.
We
But
can't.
We have football to.
Oh dear! Look at this, Griff. Your internet's doing your freezing thing. Magnificent. Right? Shall I do the thing then?
Yeah, hit it, Matty.
Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, where it's time for us to review the tape from the Seahawks' 42-29 defeat at the Detroit Lions in Week 4. We'll give our lasting impression, and then a bit of an offense talk, and then we'll dive into the defense and exactly what went wrong. Can Macdonald fix it? How much of that was on the 5/6 missing players who will return from injury this season? And are we panicking? Before that, though, Seahawks news. Griff, do you have any Seahawks news that you'd like to talk about?
Seahawks news. They brought Peters back. That's cool.
Yeah, Jason Peters. So they signed a 42-year-old right tackle. At one point when that interest was rumored, I was like, are they trying to push right guard because it's such a mess? But the guard plays I don't know, it's got slightly better. And really the Peters addition is about having a swing tackle, isn't it? Given their current swing tackle, Stone Forsythe, is actually starting at right tackle after the injury to George Fant. And Abraham Lucas still not making his way back. McLennan Curtis is still on the team, but they needed some depth, they felt there. Griff. So that's that.
Yep.
The other news, Griff.
No, that is that.
Maybe you'll be more excited about the other news. Did you see it? It's very significant.
What? Enlighten me.
The Miami Dolphins signed outside linebacker Tyus Bowser off the Seahawks practice squad after Jalen Phillips got put on injured reserve. So a guy who, I don't know if he technically was listed as a starter, but he played 40-ish% of the snaps in Detroit, is no longer with the Seahawks. Obviously, outside linebacker, you would hope, would be better stocked for Seattle moving forward, given Boye Mafe participated in a walkthrough 1 day ago, and Chen Nwosu's still trying to work his way back. He was on the practice field this week, but wasn't in the walkthrough, so day to day.
Right. Day to day.
Any other Seahawks news, Griff?
Don't think so.
Oh dear.
Unless there is.
There probably is. There's always news, right? Well, we'll deal with the injury report when we look ahead, because I forgot to say at the start, we will, of course, also be previewing this Week 5 home game, the get-right game versus the New York Giants. But at first, we have to look back at the tape because that's an insightful process where there's much to glean, much to learn. And I think hearing Mike Macdonald on the radio, Griff, he sounded kind of pissed to the point that Mike Salk was like, he was like moaning how it reminded him of interviewing Bill Belichick because,
Really,
yeah,
I thought he was way more accessible than.
yeah. I mean, maybe Mike Salk could ask him like a proper question after a loss, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that was unnecessary. But yeah.
Well, I really like how Macdonald is answering the question. I think we talked about it in the post game, but I like how Macdonald is like what he's conveying to the media after a loss through that 7-10 hit and then his weekly stuff.
Yeah,
with the press.
Yeah, that's absolutely continued from how encouraged we were after the Sunday, right? Like he seems very accountable. He keeps using phrases like we need to look inward on this, and yeah,
he's
cool.
protecting his players straight up. He's got his players' backs, even if again like he's giving them what for behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, within the realm of trust, you know, that they've established with each other, hopefully, and I'm sure they have. I like that. You know, it's ultimately he and Pete, John Harbaugh, they're all chasing the same thing. They all arrive at the same point. When it comes to the culture stuff, they might skin the cat a little differently, but they're balancing, you know, trying to encourage accountable play and how you conduct yourself, et cetera, all that stuff with a positive, you know, environment. And I think that he's achieving that clearly. This is not a Joe Judge situation if they were to lose a bunch of games, I don't think.
No. Although we'll have to see, and I think, it's positive signs right now. Okay, so Griff, we'll do lasting impression of the defense in a second because that will transition nicely to the tape. But offense, obviously, you know, Geno Smith was very impressive in the moment, but having watched the tape back, what was your lasting impression of the offense from this past game?
It was a good breakout game. They were hitting their doubles and they were hitting their singles. I think Grubb kind of figured it out. Well, what I mean by that is they were moving the ball well, but they were also able to score. So the red zone stuff was good. What is strange though, so all in all, like I'm positive about the offense. What is strange though is that they can't hit air yard explosives, and it's a little bizarre. It's a little bizarre to go from Waldron into a Ryan Grubb offense. I'm not talking quality. I'm not talking anything other than like style. Mm-hmm. What Grubb was at UW, just like bombs. And not that they aren't trying to go deep, but it's just strange to have a Ryan Grubb coached offense that is functioning. That isn't perfect, but it's functioning quite well. And you can't wear the bombs, right? Like, I think they have 2 completions over 20 air yards on the season. They're both touchdowns. That said, right. But it's a little interesting, right? Like, where is the boundary fade? Where's the boundary go route? Where's the field go? You know, it's not in the offense right now. They can't get it going. I think there's a little of they're kind of bringing that on themselves a little bit with as much as they're throwing. And then not only how much they're throwing overall, but the tendencies specifically in each formation. I think the lack of pistol is kind of hurting them. If they're not going to use under center, it's kind of like the mad scientist, like in a science fiction film or whatever, where they create this proprietary technology, but then he starts overusing it, and then his lieutenants and subordinates are like, "Sir, if you keep going, it's going to blow up. We're all going to go up in flames." And he's like, "No, keep going," stuff like that. That's how I feel like what they're doing with the shotgun drop back game. Mm-hmm. It's still working, but you're in danger of kind of running yourself into the ground or passing yourself into the ground.
Well, it is reminiscent of Let Rush Cook, where that's exactly what happened. They sort of ran out of other things off that. Now, the Let Rush Cook era, of course, used under center play action, and we're talking about ways to get explosives, like big, like 20-plus yard passes down the field. And typically, although where the let Russ cook analogy ends, I guess, is that they actually struggled getting those going as well. But typically that is a good way, a very kind of low risk way of moving the ball down the field deep.
Yeah.
Under center and play action. But if you look at this chart via Dennis Selman, let me just, or Denise, potentially. I imagine it's Dennis.
Could it be
Could
Denise?
be Denise. You can see that the Seahawks... Did we bring this up on stream on Sunday? I feel like
Probably.
we may have done. But anyway, they're 7% in their under center dropbacks, and yeah.
So that's just way too low, man, and it's
Yeah.
not sustainable. And we expect that to rise. They did have, I think, 10 play action dropbacks this game, but on like 50 plus total dropbacks, that's still not a high rate.
Right.
Now
the other thing is, which could be influencing their ability to go downfield, is they have the 4th lowest pass block win rate in the league per ESPN Analytics. They're 29th. Now that's that's by no means a perfect metric, because it's measuring, a win of a block with before 2.5 seconds. Is that correct? Is that still how they do it at ESPN?
Yeah.
So obviously there's some things which can influence, like how much quick game a team uses. There's various things which go into that, but ultimately you don't want to be low in that rating.
But like they had the same O-line issue last year, and they were able to get downfield. So I think it's
okay.
I think it follows from the structure they're living in.
Yeah.
Waldron's structure was able to get the looks necessary to hit those, and so far Grubb doesn't seem interested in trying to get the one-on-ones. He'd rather try to undress you conceptually instead of like with what the actual play calls are.
I love it when people undress me conceptually.
He wants to undress the safety shell.
That's what this podcast is.
He wants to undress the safety shell with play calls as opposed to actual post-snap play call, opposed to putting out certain tendency to affect the defensive structure, which that was more Waldron. Waldron to me is more structure and tendency and sequencing, and then Grubb is more tactics and design. It's a little bit of, there are pros and cons to both. In a perfect world, we'd like to see those two things bridged a little bit.
But they must be aware that, it's not like he didn't use under center or play action. Well, he didn't use much under center in college, but he did use play action in college.
In pistol, right?
Yeah, out of pistol, which is like that halfway house, as we spoke about before, and it's a collegey way of doing it, I guess. But he must know that, hey, our play action rate's kind of low. And maybe part of it is they're having, especially against Detroit, they were having success just straight dropping back in the gun. So why not just keep calling the hits? This
right. It's just strange because they were like the second best play action team last year. They did a lot of it. And it's just strange to not access that bucket to me.
Right. It's not like Geno's bad at it. If Geno had been a poor play action passer for whatever reason, like maybe he doesn't like turning his back to the defense, then you'd understand. But he hasn't shown that in his time as a starting quarterback in Seattle. So my take on it is, Griff, they must be aware that it's not a thing. So you could call it cope, but it's that they will lean into it at some point, and it will be their way of keeping the passing game going and changing tendency.
Yeah.
I mean, just this Thursday night game, we've seen Atlanta, and it's on a short week, so could be a short week type of deal to surprise the 49ers with.
Yeah.
But you just come out with a different approach on offense, and it leaves them scrambling for the first couple of drives. Like Atlanta passed way more on early downs, I think, in this half. That's the other thing, though, that is very surprising about the Seahawks. Well, I don't know if it's very surprising, but there was all this off-season discussion where Geno Smith said this is a drop-back offense. It's like, great, brilliant. Turns out that was true, but what DK Metcalf said about, actually, I think we're going to surprise people and establish the run a bit more and be run first, and Mike Macdonald spoke about being a physical offense. The fact that the Seahawks are passing as much as they are, like, let me just bring this up on stream. So this is via runningbacksdon'tmatter.com, aka Ben Baldwin's websites. If you look at their, this is ridiculous, their pass over expected rates, basically every down other than 3rd and 1 to 2 and 2nd and 8 plus, the Seahawks are passing a crap ton. It's not just like 1 or 2% over. It's, it's these big numbers. So whether that can be sustained, I'm not sure either. It could be something where they break tendency. I think where it is right now, it kind of points to a way of when Ken Walker does get handed off the football in the run game, as we saw against Detroit, he's so explosive. Like, it almost keeps him more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on this, Griff? Right.
Well, I think your point of they have a bunch of play action stuff installed, just waiting in the wings until they feel like they need to pivot. I think you're right about that. I'm to me, it's almost a foregone conclusion that we're going to see a bunch of play action in time. The way the season started off with so much 7-step drop back, I think they thought the protection was going to start off better based off what they were seeing in camp, maybe. And it's possible that there was this reaction period of like, oh my gosh, we actually aren't doing what we thought we were going to do. And then they're scheming like in response to that.
Right.
And then like there's this liminal space in between like really what the intentions were the first 2 games. And they're in the liminal space right now. And they're trying to trend toward what the natural kind of, adaptation would be, which would be more under center, more pistol, which would then lead to more play action.
Yeah. And it's
also we have to take into account game script, only 4 games. The Lions game got out of control quickly. They had to throw anyway, right?
Right.
The Patriots game not having Walker in there, like you said, maybe they didn't want to put those many runs for Charbonnet. They want to balance stuff because I think they were down Kenny as well. Like he couldn't go. So it was just a numbers game. And yeah. And then the other commentary there is that Grubb just thinks Geno is a dude, right?
That's what's comedy to me. Like, there was all that off-season talk after they acquired Sam Howell of, this isn't going to load, is it? But anyway, they're high passing. They're like 60% over neutral pass frequency. Like,
right.
They're the 3rd highest. Oh, that did the trick. Hold on. But yeah, all this commentary after they acquired Sam Howell of, maybe the new regime doesn't like Geno Smith. Is there going to be a sneaky quarterback battle in Seattle? Which is ridiculous. Like, literally, they are putting the entire offense on Geno. They're letting him do so much stuff at the line. There's a bit of like check with me stuff where I think players get signaled in and whatnot when they go up tempo. But Geno is as on this pass frequency. A telling comment from Macdonald this past week was on the fact that Geno's quite a bit of the time has the option to check into a run or check into a different pass play, and it just so happens that the look they've been presented with has said, okay, we're going to pass it. So there's some of that going on here too, which again, if teams start adapting a bit better or, playing a bit more too high looks, and you think about the opponents they're against, the Lions played 21 snaps of man-to-man defense, like against Seattle.
Yeah.
A lot of other teams aren't going to be that brazen. They're not going to put Carlton Davis one-on-one with DK for the majority of snaps.
Called that. What wasn't the slot fade he caught on Carlton?
Yeah, but I said Brian Branch, but he was missing. Yeah. But I did call that. Yeah, that's right. I think this is a fascinating part of the offense to track, and it's obviously partly also Grubb is, learning still about the NFL. Although I don't think he'd be that surprised about how this has gone. And then as Jay says, I have heard that Grubb has a tendency to go back to what's working until the defense stops it, and that's absolutely right. Like if a defense can't stop, and I think that's what will have appealed. We spoke about it before, but what will have appealed to Macdonald about Grubb when he hired him is he will call the same concepts layered in slightly different ways over and over again if you won't stop it, like mesh. We've seen him do.
Right.
Slot fades. Like he's conceptually in the past game very streamlined. However, it's presented up and dressed up and varied. All right,
Yep,
so the final
agreed.
thing with the offense, Griff. Did you have anything to add? Sorry.
Nope.
So this person tweeted, the Seahawks offense is quietly off to its worst start in both EPA per play and EPA rank through the first 4 games of the season since 2021.
Who is this joker?
I don't know. It seemed kind of bad faith, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't meant to be incendiary in any stretch of the imagination, but it's just to kind of put into like context, like what we're watching right now. It just objectively, it's not something like we've never seen before the last 3 years. It's where it is overall right now is like 0.3 of an expected point added per play over last year overall, but that would be comparing a 4-game sample size to a 17-game sample size. So that's why I kind of looked at through the first 4 games. And as we've seen, like Waldron starts off the first month of the season great, better than Grubb. So it's not to make any comment about like who's better. To me, that's not how I perceive this at all. I don't perceive Grubb through that lens. I just look at Grubb with who he is, what he's doing right now, and how they're going to get better. But trying to gauge him and using relative comparisons to like make that gauging, I just think is it's remiss to go about it that way, because if you're going to do that, then the offense is literally worse then. And I don't want to think about how the offense isn't good enough. I want to think about how it is solid and getting better, and it's what it's headed toward. But just to say like, oh, this is better and that's better. I mean, like, some things are slightly better. Some things are slightly worse. Some things are great. Some things are frankly head scratching. Sounds a lot like last year to me, just rearranged a little bit, The offense has been for 3 years undeniably good, with some stretches that were better than that, some stretches that were worse than that, but ultimately it felt like it could have been better. And right now I feel the same way. It is ultimately good, and I feel like it could be better. Like that Lions game last night. Yeah, they've absolutely had games like that before. They've had them against the Lions, even better ones. So
yeah,
I'm not anointing anything yet, because I don't see what merits that. I see what merits hope for, further improvement. But like, we got to see it happen first, right? Like,
yeah.
You think Grubb is crowning his offense right now? He's probably pulling what, he doesn't, not that he has any hair left to pull out, but him being a coach with high standards, he probably wants a way better product than what they're putting out there right now. And he has a lot to hang their hat on, but he still wants it to be better. Like,
so on that subject, given we're sort of talking about tape tonight, did the offensive line look as, I don't know if promising is the right word, but improved? Did it look as improved as we thought after the broadcast? It's going to be a bit up and down, but...
Yeah, I think so. I think there was like 1 or 2 drives where Hutch was really giving Forsyth work.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think they were pretty solid as a unit.
Yeah. And that matches what Ryan Grubb's assessment was, where he felt that was the best football that both Christian Haynes and Anthony Bradford, the guys battling out for that right guard spot, played so far this season. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully that can continue. I mean, that would certainly go some ways to making what they're doing viable for longer.
Yeah.
All right, so finally on the offense, a couple of nuggets, which are Seahawky from Sports Info Solutions and their total points metric, which is EPA derived. There'll be an explanation on our website. But Geno Smith is second in total points among quarterbacks in the entire NFL, behind Jaden Daniels, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Good player, playing well.
Yeah, in total points is EPA based, but it assigns credit. It tries to take into account other factors.
Correct. Is they prefer it because there's some added context, which, and again, they explain this better on the website, but there's added context which makes it better for giving credit to specific players on given plays.
Right. All right.
Now, in terms of teams, the Seahawks are tied for the best team in the NFL in total points for offense, defense, and special teams.
Really?
They're tied with the San Francisco 49ers, which is surprising.
It's very interesting, yeah. That speaks to, I guess, the raw ability of the team overall.
Yep.
You know how in video games...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Geno Smith leads. I don't know why I read that as... I read that wrong. Geno Smith leads the NFL in total points. I'm an idiot.
Bang. It's good.
Hey, that's great news. I know you were concerned before, but now I've said that.
Yeah, it was way better. You know how... Because obviously I don't think they're the second best team in the league. I don't think anyone thinks that, even if you're
Or the joint first.
Yeah. So I don't think we think they're the first best team in the league either. But to me, what that demonstrates is, you know how like characters in a video game can have like really high attack, but then really low armor or something. And that's not an offense defense thing. I'm saying both units are capable of hitting you really hard, but then they also have like low armor as well.
They have a weak point.
They've got weak points. So if they can land a hit on you, you might be out. But if you land a hit on them, it's kind of the same story. So again, offense or defense, apply that metaphor however you want. Think about it however you like. But it speaks to like their raw capabilities on both sides of the ball. But also we know that they kind of have that inner circus disaster drive in them as well.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm a glass half full guy. I kind of like that, and because then you know what you need to fix, and if you fix those things, you have all the really good stuff waiting for you on the other end, and then you're talking about being a complete football team, top 5 team, right? And I don't know if they're going to hit that this year, but there's definitely room for that over this like initial Macdonald window of a couple seasons, right?
Mm-hmm. Would you like to hear an even more surprising total point stat?
Absolutely.
Guess which running back leads the NFL in total points?
Kenneth Walker.
No.
Kenny McIntosh.
No. No.
Is it a Seattle Seahawk?
It is.
Zach Charbonnet.
Correct.
What?
Yeah,
how is that possible? I like Sharp. I think he's a good runner, but how is that possible?
I have no idea.
You would think so. Do they not penalize him at all for like the Patriots game? Do they just put that all in the blocking?
I guess.
That's interesting.
And then that comes with the caveat that I'm not sure how much stock we should put into these types of metrics after 4 weeks, and particularly Charbonnet, where he's got an even more limited sample size. But still, funny. I guess it's his pass catching. Has he caught a big wheel route? Has he done that in the regular season?
Oh, he had that. Yeah, that mesh touchdown.
Yeah,
that was him, right?
Yeah.
That was the Bears game. No, the Broncos game.
Bears? I was like, what?
Alliteration got me. My bad.
You're bad. Right. Anyway. All right, that's the offense. Chat, if you have any offense questions, please do ping them in here. I know the defense is the understandable hot topic. Misfit, behave yourself. That's a funny comment. Right. All right, Griff. Defense.
I mean, we can cope this pretty easily, right? I mean, well, again, it's all about perspective. I mean, how zen do you want to be? I mean, do you take solace? I mean, it was a horrible game, right? Do you take solace in the fact that they were only bad in the areas where it would make sense they were bad?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there was no absolute shockers. It was all very kind of, we expected that, and that's what happened.
Right.
I think my concern is it's not like, and this will come in the tape, and guys, you'll see plays when we watch this where you'll be like, hi, if they had Leonard Williams there, then maybe he gets a pressure and that moves the QB off the spot and the ball doesn't get thrown there. And that's totally valid. I think there's a few plays where if they'd had like one extra good player in the front, then it clears that up. Likewise, Jerome Baker's the most polished probably play action zone dropper that they have, and he's not there. It's Tyrese Knight who's essentially learning how to do that on the job.
Right.
And Jerome Baker could also, and they talked about this, but there's spots where he could actually play the Mike position where Tyrell Dodson, I mean, you'll see it. Anyway, my issue is a lot of the stuff like Jaron Reed and Jonathan Hankins were playing really good against the run. They played really good against the run in this game. They made some really good plays against the run in this game. I don't know how much better Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy would have been against the run than what those two brought against the run. They kind of played damn good. In fact, all the D-line played good other than Gibson not being able to drop into coverage very well. So that was a bit of an issue for them at times. But so my problem is I kind of wanted it to be also those D linemen struggling. And it's not like they got tired either. It's not like they needed depth because they couldn't get a third down. They just straight up couldn't get off the field. So
there weren't that many offensive snaps for Detroit, were there?
No. What do they have? Six third downs? But like think how many drives they had. So there's not many third downs at all. Yeah. It's like one a drive or two a drive.
Right.
Anyway, Griff, you had a great stat before we look at the tape, and I think we can just cycle through it. All right. Because I've got notes. I'm prepared. You had a great EPA stat on which compares their early downs to late downs because I think, have you got it to hand?
Well, I have it memorized, yeah.
Memorized?
Well, on early downs for the season, so downs 1 and 2, they are the 26th the best defense. So that's not good. That's really bad.
By what metric?
By EPA per play.
Okay.
And then on third downs, fourth downs, so late downs, they're the best defense. They're first. So that to me, I mean, if I was just given those numbers, I would think, well, this defense has rough structure on early downs. But then on third downs, they're absolutely bringing the heat, and they can cover because you play a lot of tight coverage on third downs. Whether that's man or like a match zone, it's typically what you see. So that follows. And when you have bad structure, my mind goes to, is the run defense poor, and what is the interior of the coverage doing? And if you look at that further, well, their EPA per dropback in zone coverage in particular on throws in between the numbers, 8 to 22 yards downfield, is 22nd in the league right now. And the EPA is like 0.66 something, which isn't a very intuitive number. But the point is that number is bigger than it was last year. Mm-hmm. And that number is even bigger than it was the year prior to that. So you're just getting worse in that area.
And I think that this is so easy to say, but that's only on throws which have been complete, obviously. Right. There's been other openings that pass rushers helped them out on, but also because of the three first opponents they faced didn't get hit for just bad opposition play, that Detroit obviously... And we should say Jared Goff played out of his mind in this game. Like, he was dialed in, very good, very quick, throwing guys with anticipation, kind of just throwing to a spot, actually, which is obviously the key. But it was a complete 180 from what Seattle had seen the previous week when we looked at the tape and we're going, this is going to be hit against Detroit because they'll throw this kind of blind. And lo and behold, they did.
They did.
And that's a big thing for me. I want to see Seattle face a good opponent again, where it's not the third easiest schedule by DVOA in the first 3 weeks of the season, but it's a full complement of players, which is what you're going to say, Griff.
Yeah,
DVOA. I mean, that's not realistic, but like a bit more health in the the front position, because ultimately the strength of this defense is the defensive front. However, I remain concerned because I don't know how much a different, those guys would have actually helped. They probably removed one or two of these plays, but
Right.
you can decide for yourself, guys, because we're gonna get it up now.
I think if you had them, if you had Murphy, Leonard, Moffitt, you definitely generate more negative plays for the defense, and that probably you might end a couple of drives here and there. But when you're not getting that crazy play killing pressure, you're getting just as cut up over the middle. As far as run defense goes, though, we should say like their numbers against the run when in 1 high versus 2 high this game were just about identical as they were in the Patriots game, and they had all their starters in the Patriots game. So I'm not going to say, well, if they had all their starters, they would have defended the run just as well or better. I mean, I don't think we have any reason to think that. Like you said, Jaron Reed and Hankins, Taylor were playing the run well. So it kind of is. It's the second level that's the problem, and the play calls.
Yeah. All right, here we go. So there's going to be a mix of all the things Macdonald spoke about, some of what Griff was speaking about there. There's going to be bad tackling on checkdowns. There's going to be some really shaky 2 high run fits. There's going to be just some really poor second level play in the fit, and then coverage wise, there's just going to be some stuff you don't really want to see. So up first, Griff, we have an example of needing to play the second level routes better. It's a very early example. Also, there's a narrative after this game, Griff, about Devon Witherspoon. I don't know where it came from, but basically people thinking that he was having a bad start to the season, which he did miss that tackle. But other than that, in this game, Griff, I thought he played really solid.
Yeah, he was fine. I mean, he did some impressive stuff even.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think the broadcast helps when they put the long touchdown, which we'll get to, on him. I think that kind of impacts things, right?
Right, and I don't think it makes sense to blame him for that.
No, 100% no. No, that's impossible, which we'll talk about. Anyhow. Okay. So here, after this play in the broadcast, it cut to Ben Johnson on the sideline, looking like kind of peeved. I wonder if that's because he felt they could have run the run play here, and then with this guy walking off the ball, it kind of gets a bit funky, right?
Oh, do you think there was like a check or something that like Goff checked?
Or maybe he just loved he didn't expect this guy to walk off the ball with that, and the fact it happened, he was like, damn, we had a big run here. But it's interesting he didn't try it again.
Interesting, yeah. This is a good play from Devin, though.
Very good play from Devin.
Cloud corner, he's the flat defender. Knight overruns the crossing route from the other side. You don't have the safety nailing down. So Devin essentially is playing high to low on the crossing route to the flat, cancels that. I don't think Goff could have thrown it. I don't think he wanted to test that. Devin probably gets under it.
Early in the game, yeah.
Yeah.
He thinks about it.
So he's using a sail technique there. Devin is just pitch, like perfect, right?
Yeah, perfect. Now, I mentioned the second level routes, and Macdonald saying about when to latch onto them or not is consistently this season, they have turned stuff like this loose. Like, this guy hasn't followed it, and this guy hasn't followed it. And I don't understand. So what ends up happening is you have 2 guys over here, and this, and Macdonald was talking about how you almost need to vice it and have a guy here and a guy here, which is common zone coverage, right? And he mentioned how it hadn't been an issue until this game, but they need to play these routes better, otherwise teams are going to keep doing it to them. And this is an early example of it. You're wasting 2 guys here. Now, do you think, Griff, at the top of the screen, this is cover 4? The way Woolen's eyes play looks 4-ish to me, but it could have been 2. It's
It looks
very
like,
rare for them to play straight cover 2 across the board, at least what we've seen from this defense.
yeah, it does look like cover 2 on both sides to me.
You think?
Yeah. The safeties, he's bailing at the snap.
But the one thing is Jenkins is so tight.
Yeah, maybe they want it to look like quarters pre-snap. It's just what is Woolen doing then?
Well, it's just his. Yeah, I guess it's the way he's trying to get into like the low hip and lean with the inside release and get underneath that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. And then he gets sucked up. Yeah.
The linebackers here, I know they've got a lot of stuff pulling them into the backfield because you got to tie. It's what is it? 21 personnel.
Yeah.
Um.
But ideally, you'd like the thing about the linebackers, which will keep coming up, is they're so inefficient in how they drop. So it's fine if this takes a while to process. It's the first snap of the game. As Griff said, there's a lot going on. Like fullback's gone this way, guards pulled this way. This guy's gone over here, and the back's counter stepping. Like it's a pretty good play fake, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as you realise, right, you got to see the ball now, and then as soon as you realise, you should stick this foot in the ground and sprint to this hash, right? And it's just the delays in I guess Knight tries to do that, but they're just very slow to do it. Now, this is probably not the best example for inefficiency of movement, so we'll get to another one. Pass rush wise, it's always going to be difficult out of this look, whoever you are, but they do probably a fine job in the circumstances. Okay, Griff, if you need me to stop or chat, if you have a question, I'll leave Griff responsible for keeping track of that.
All right, I'm on it.
It's going to be a shambles.
No, it's going to go great.
We have 2 starred ones as well, Griff.
Okay.
Which we can touch on when you fancy it, I guess. Alright. So this is one way that they will find as a solution for trying to fit certain types of run, but also get pressure, and it's been a hot topic of what is a sim pressure as well. So this is a sim pressure where they're full slanting the line and sending the nickel, but they're only sending what would you call this, a creeper, Griff?
Yeah, it's more creepery to me.
Anyway, they're sending the nickel, and they're dropping this edge, and it's just cover 3. So we're rolling down here, we're playing a curl flat, hook to curl, hook to curl, curl to flat, deep third, deep third, deep third. And moving your line, so you're essentially creating here a bare front against the run. Mm-hmm. That is one effective way of winning the numbers back, winning the gaps back, and making it easy on these guys.
Yeah.
It's interesting they full slant this guy, though, and then I found it interesting how Hall sort of folds in, so it's like getting into a...
Right.
That's a consistent thing.
Yeah, that is a cool mechanic, right? A line mechanic for handling that sort of thing.
Yeah, it kind of messes up the same, the like gun near formation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this guy dips back and thinks this guy's not going to fold in, but they reset the edge here. I thought Hall had a terrific game.
Hall was great.
Derek Hall.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call what he's doing right now. It's a bit beyond taking the leap. Like, he's playing really good football.
Yeah. I mean, he's at like year 3 right now, where you'd think he'd be. Okay.
And then here's a classic thing for them, which is showing cover 1, trying to disguise it. I thought initially Goff was confused here, but I think he identified it as cover 1 based off the motion. but they do a good job at the top of
Hmm.
covering this. It's kind of a crappy play call.
From Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great for man necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they pop this shallow open usually,
Yeah,
but Seattle gets good presence. And this is a good job between Dodson and Jenkins playing the dime of handling the back where he takes him out. Dodson knows he's in this window and it's good. Now, this dig gets wide ass open. Kobe Bryant's playing the safety spot as the 6th DB, but it's like the 4th read for Goff. And Miles Adams does a good job up front of and Macdonald praised Adams, the backup DT. He's active on the stunt, and that's enough to move Goff off his spot, and then it's a dead play. It's also a good rush from Hall.
yep,
One thing they are good at, and this is something McDonald's Ravens were good at, is one of these edges will always like rush sort of inside half of the guy, and the other will rush the wider path. It's less obvious here because this is Draymond Jones, but it's very rare that it's like when they had Clowney and Van Noy, they're pretty good at how they rushed quarterbacks with one knowing he could take the inside path because the other was rushing the back door, and it would get like quick like affecting of the quarterback and moving off the spot. All right, so this is the type of too high run defense issues that Griff was speaking about, where they're just straight up down a man, and the backers are being asked to do stuff which they're just not good at.
yeah,
And this happens time and time again. The Lions had a cool wrinkle as well, where they do various variations of wrapping in here, or they'd wrap a tackle on the backside of zone, but that just accents the advantage. So schematically, Griff, is this stack fullback,
yeah.
and then how do you handle that when that happens? Should it be stack fullback,
He would
get involved?
Maybe, yeah. I think the corner would kind of become your new force player, but I mean, if the way that it shakes out for this one, it's pretty simplified because Knight, as you wrote for Knight, he's playing A to B, and he's just late popping back out into the B. And I think the issue with the way they're coaching the linebackers, because there's a lot of this where a linebacker is tasked with 2 gaps. He's just late popping into the second gap, scraping over laterally. The issue is the way they're coaching the linebackers, they're being like extremely overt with stacking and tracking the back path, opposed to stacking their own DT, their own defensive tackle, and waiting for the running back to declare.
Yeah.
It's simply easier. Now, the drawback to that is if your DT gets displaced vertically, if he gets pushed into your lap, then you're in trouble. Because then it's like, well, even if you make the tackle, you're talking about 5 yards. But if he gets pushed back and you're in the wrong gap, then like, how are you going to work over that anyway? So,
right. But this is just so over the top. Like you run yourself out of the play. He's so thick into the gap that it's just too much. And this is a good rep from Hankins.
It's a good rep from Hankins. And you have to wonder, like this stuff it's not just this game. This is not an overreaction to this game. It was the same story against New England, but they won and they didn't give up a bunch of stuff in the passing game.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have to talk about it as like a huge issue. But this game on the run, on the ground, was no better and no worse than the Patriots game. So it's just a matter of like the way they're coaching it. They got to either flip their structure around against some of those formations, or simply coach it better, or find better players. Which that's the tricky part, but that's a lever Macdonald defenses pulled before when they didn't get what they were wanting.
Right. So this here's an example of why they would coach the linebackers to hit their gap hard when they're able to, and then if they're able to cut back. So this is technically they're outnumbered again, right? Like we've got the two high safeties. We're playing some type of two deep coverage. We've got our corner and a corner, and the front is a base front, meaning there's these guys down at the line. They're in a 3-4 personnel. The 4 linebackers here, and there's the 3D line. Brilliant. And why they like hitting stuff is, as you see here, front side, Tyrese Knight's thinking, so here, C-gap, force, Tyrese Knight's thinking, I get front side action like this, I'm going to hit this B-gap hard. And on the back side, Dodson's thinking he's going to hit this gap hard here. And they're thinking they can stack these gaps and play this aggressive. I don't know where Griff's gone. Has he disconnected? Possibly. Be a shame if he has. Let me just check that you're all still with me. Oh, he's be right back. Anyway, why they like this, guys, is if I just pause it here, you can see how is that Montgomery? Yeah. If he just presses up here, they've got a crease here. This Amon-Ra St. Brown's digging out the safety. If he could stick his foot in the ground and cut back off the butt of this block, it's a problem, right? That's the touchdown. It's going to split the defense. However, because Dodson doesn't slow play, he just hits he takes one shuffle and then beats this block to the inside. He's too quick for the block. It happens too fast. And also because Knight on the front side has stacked his gap and he's levered that arm off him, it's a good run fit for them, where they're playing too high, but they really like this type of front with the 4-eye and the whatever you call that. I don't know what that is.
That's a 7 or a 6-eye.
A 6-eye, yeah. But they love this type of front. I think they call it soak, where they're getting B-gap, C-gap presence and a head-up guy here, and then they're just letting the backers stack these gaps aggressively, and it kind of gets them out of holes because they set a hard edge up the top, and then the linebackers just, when they see it, they pull their gun, and even though if the back could have cut back off the butt of this block, he cannot, because there's just not the crease and not the time there, and they're just getting after it. That said, I would have liked to see him try and do a crazy cutback like that, but I think Dodson tackles him.
Yeah. And a similar play comes back to bite them.
Yes.
When they're even gapped out, when it's one high.
All right. So that's one of the few good run fits where you're kind of understanding some of what they're conceptually trying to do. All right. So here, this is 2nd and 6, and it's an example of the inefficient movement, I'd say, of Dodson as a dropper, where he's kind of lost. I don't know if he's ever really been taught under center, like backfield flow.
Well, yeah.
But I guess he gets full flow. He kind of, it's split flow, isn't it?
You've got 3 to one side, 2 to the other, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess he rolls over. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's pushing to the field first. That kind of makes sense. But I mean, I think because they're attacking the strong hook here, right?
Yeah, that's which Knight. Is Tyrese Knight, yeah.
Yeah. So Knight, once he realizes it, he doesn't think to gain depth at all. And then once he kind of realizes what's happens, he just adds on to the rush. And that just seems to like not giving the defense any sort of anything from the hook. It's all on Lillen.
That said, they did affect Goff and they did hit him.
Yeah.
But basically, guys, this would be weak hook, strong hook, curl to flat, deep third, deep third, deep third, curl to flat. So this is your standard cover 3. Oh, it's a fire zone though. Is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So
interesting at the top.
Yeah. So Knight as the okay, I remember now. So Knight either needs to gain depth or he needs to play the flat. So he does neither. His eyes are in the backfield 100%. Dodson, then you're totally right. We need to push more to the boundary hash, given the
distribution.
Formation. Yeah, and the distribution of the receivers.
Like it's a nub.
So it's just honestly like it's lousy structure in the underneath.
Because that's right, yeah. So that's why I had this in my notes. So Dodson's the final 3, okay? So based off the flow that they get, which is this, right? The 3 player is going to be on this hash. Like, that's our number 1. I think our corner can handle that. Just the drop straight back into the middle of the field would have been more valuable to them. But he's just so... I don't even know... Yeah, I don't know what... And he is playing with quarterback vision. Now, the cool thing on the play, Griff, is this look here where they're activating their field edge rusher by having this guy as a head-up guy. It keeps this for the boot, right? Which
right.
I mean, on the play action, which
that's what they've
works.
Been doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing. Yeah.
And I like that. It helps the linebackers out tremendously. But
yeah.
I don't know. Dodson's kind of okay here. Maybe he's a little late. Well, why does he never get his eyes on receivers though?
He's so QB vision.
Why does he never peek? He's looking at the quarterback the whole way.
Which means sometimes there's a more extreme example, but his hips never pop open fully.
Yeah.
He's sort of trying to
the shoulders and never shoulders and hips never. And that's a problem because the good quarterbacks lie to you.
Right.
So
okay. So here we have a 2nd and 6. I believe this is quarter half, Griff, which they've sucked at.
Yeah.
So this is a cloud flat player. Here's our deep half. Here's our quarter. Here's our curl or quarter flat player. Here's our deep quarter. Here's our final 3. And here's our weak curl type player. Okay. And it's in base. This is one of their worst. Their numbers in this must be awful, pass coverage wise. I know actually against the Dolphins they may have got away with it, but it looked shaky. Remember we highlighted it last week. But I don't understand how they play this. Why Love is it's just basically saying, and Macdonald said this, second level routes. We want to have a guy underneath it and a guy over the top of it, and Drake Thomas is completely lost.
He's lost. The only good thing here is that he gains depth quickly when he does get going.
Right. It's just so interesting to me that the ball is on the boundary, right?
Yeah.
Why, if it just opened this, why did he choose to open like that? I guess he's expecting this, but you've got this and it's a nub formation again.
Now, I do like the adjustment of inverting against nub and wings a little bit.
Yeah, which is, we've seen them continue that, but essentially make this guy.
Yeah. But McDonald's talking about vicing this stuff. You need your field hash player in your corner to play like a top-down diagonal bracket on that in-breaking route. And that's not enough here. Right there, the play's done.
And that's pretty good coverage from Spoon. He's right at the catch point.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty good recovery because obviously he stumbles there.
Gets kind of pushed.
Yeah, St. Brown does a kind of a crafty thing to expand and make space for himself. And Goff is a landmark thrower all day, and he'll get the ball to the landmark.
But like, there's one guy here. Why are we flooding out here? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, we should all be rolling over and locating the threats.
I think they're thinking weak side flood because of how Goff opened, kind of like a throwback thing.
Anyway. Alright. Now, I wanted to get your thoughts on this one. So this is a 1st and 10. So they come out in a one-back look, and the Giants are so good. The Lions are so good because they present everything. They're very formationally diverse out of their personnel, and it's the same grouping. So here it's a one-back look. It's that same front.
So they're gapped out here, right? Yeah.
They should be gapped out, right? So they're playing cover 3 safety here. I believe it's just the fire zone where they're bringing this guy through the C gap. This guy's probably this. Well, actually, let's go back. What coverage would this be? Yeah, so it would be. I presume this guy would be the quarter flat. This guy would be the hot to 3. This guy would be the seam flat hot 2 player. Deep third, post third, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as Griff said, guys, they're gapped out into the box. They have this guy, and this guy who can all play together, and play for these two guys.
Yeah. So to me, as you roll the clip, Dodson just takes the lead block on too thick.
But in theory, it should be next available gap. This guy blocks Dodson, so I need to spill him to my free hitter, right?
Yes. I mean, so Dodson, I mean, he's out leveraged. Dodson needs to be inside the tight end, not outside him.
Did he think pass? It's like he's trying to beat pass pro.
I think it's the way, maybe, but I think part of it is the way they're being. You could be
Weak
right.
inside zone.
Fire zone. But I think part of it is the way they're being coached. They want them to play blocks so thick. They're worried about.
That's just abysmal, though.
But then also look at Love. Like Love doesn't gain. He doesn't gain inside leverage on the climbing. Not exactly a crack block because it's backside, but on St. Brown. Because if Dodson does get inside leverage, what happens? The ball cuts back, and then Love isn't in great position either to make a play. Now maybe it goes for 5 yards instead of 8.
It's just horrid.
It's just not good second level defense at all.
It's terrible second level defense, like so poorly executed, and I don't know what on earth. I mean, maybe they hadn't repped this play against this particular formation, but if Love gets crackback blocked, that's up for the corner to replace. Like Love, I don't know why Love's eyes are here. His as soon as he comes into the box, they should be keying the backfield, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a perfect play call because it's weak, like inside zone, basically. And I mean, look at this.
What if I don't want to look at it?
No.
What if I'd rather not look at it, Matty?
So if Dodson had spilled it, do you think it goes for touchdown because Love's getting blocked?
Well, no, because Love makes the tackle anyway.
Yeah, so if Dodson spills it, then...
Look at that. Oh, my God, dude. That's so bad. Ugh.
The second level is just so bad. And this is what we're meaning, guys. Like
you got 5
the D-line
bodies.
do a good job here-ish.
Yeah. You got 5 bodies on the line of scrimmage, and you still got that going on for you. But again, like I like that play call, because it's alleviating your issue. Just the issue is the execution. And if the execution's bad, you have to either think about the players or the coaching of the play call.
Yeah, you're basically getting into a 6-2 post snap.
I wondered about that. There was a lot of fire zone, a lot of 6-man rush this game. And when Macdonald lit up Jared Goff last year with the Ravens, there was more sim pressures and fewer, less fire zones. Now this play, how does this not endear you to Devin Witherspoon? He almost makes this play, but Gibson gets folded.
I've noticed Macdonald likes trying to layer similar calls as well. This is now the nickel version of what we've just seen, basically, where blitzing through the open bubble, field rotation cover 3. Do you think this is a sim or a fire zone? Do you think he's a dropper?
Yeah. I think he is a dropper, yeah. So Woolen's afraid of getting play action here. That's why he's late.
Yeah, they don't want Woolen to worry about the run, which is fine. But I do not understand the linebacker alignment here. They're stemming, right? So Seattle tries to disguise things. So they're trying to show we're rotating down to the tight end, which is a common thing that teams do. This back has got this gap, this back has got this gap, and this guy's the deep player. But what they're actually doing, of course, is they're sending this through the B. They're rotating, they're rotating down to replace him, and then they're rotating here. And that just before the snap, this guy needs to stem a bit more out here, Tyrese Knight, and Dodson needs to sort of rotate out here. And if you're going to play it gapped out, which you're playing one high defense, you have an 8-man front, you should be able to B gap, A gap, C gap.
Yeah.
Knight's alignment needs to be at least 40, right?
Yeah.
Head up on the tackle, tan.
Right. Maybe they had the rotation wrong. Maybe they thought Jenkins was dropping and Julian was spinning deep.
Yeah, just the way they're aligned.
Because the contour, yeah.
But there is an element of they're doing so many different calls and layering that I don't know if they're getting confused. But
it might be.
I mean, they're not doing loads of different calls, but you get what I mean. But anyway, this is why disguise can be a problem, because Knight's gap you would think would be here. And what it means is Gibson gets legit triple teamed. And then that's your edge setter. And no one's replacing that. So that's an issue.
Yeah. And just rough from, on top of that, rough from Gibson and Woolen.
Yeah.
But hey. And they gave up the edge a lot this game, and it was surprising to see them not have answers for it. You think after the second time, he wouldn't let it happen again, but...
Yeah.
Is this the other, right down the middle run? No.
I thought this was encouraging at first from Dodson. He sees the play, he gets his eyes to the receiver, he starts to turn, and he's going to roll over to the opposite hash.
Same. And then...
But then I guess he sees the ball coming out, so it doesn't. But it's just a lack of...
Get the head around.
Almost nonchalance, I've done it.
Yeah.
He sort of starts jogging. There's no urgency to really
It's what
roll.
he did in Buffalo. He would kind of start off all okay. And then
I wouldn't comment on it if I hadn't seen it a load of times.
Right.
And you hadn't spoke about it a lot.
Get the head around. So it's all on Woolen, and Woolen isn't going to win every single one of those. It's asking way too much of him. The fact that he's step for step with the race route.
It's almost taking the play off. It's almost saying, well, if they check it down, I don't want to have to run back there. So I'll just stay here, even though that should not be my responsibility.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway. This is disgusting.
Is
This
this
is good. It's a good play, but it's disgusting. Like
so? It's the same thing that Knight did on one of those earlier runs, but with Dodson. Dodson's playing A to C, I think. A B C, yeah, A to C.
yeah. Sorry.
He stacks up the running back in the A. The running back bounces out to the C gap, and Dodson is just lost.
But Knight's lost as well.
Yeah.
And what I don't get as well is if we're ball fitting here and here, what is the rule for Spoon? Is he to stack this guy and then win out, or does he need to show up more here and then come out, or is he pure coverage?
I think he's just straight force. So he's just the E gap player, which would help him because you don't want to conflict him to the flat, right? And have him play the inside gap.
Like, it's over right now. Like, Buddy's just giving that guy the block.
Yeah.
And what particularly doesn't make sense either is how they play the doubles is rather than staying and playing on this, they really fight pressure with pressure and they smack where the double's coming from more. Particularly Reed, Hankins, and Williams. Murphy's have dropped the Neo a bit more. Like you can see here, he's really striking that guy, almost becoming a 4-eye post snap. So if that's the case, then this guy's going to be the one who can get off it easier. So why give him your block? I do not.
It's like you almost think Dodson doesn't understand the call he's in.
And here's the best bit. This is the linebacker run fit mechanic that if they're really cooking, they need to be the best at. Like, this is what they want to be good at, and yet they haven't been able to coach it.
Right.
And like you were saying, Griff, your point about mirroring the back is so important. Look how aggressive his first steps are, mirroring that step in the downhill path. Just like not at all.
In duo, who's the running back reading?
Yeah, the running back is reading this guy, and if he shows like this, oh, buddy, I'm banging it out here or out here or out here.
So you got to pace this out better.
Yeah,
and
you can't get too excited. You could get excited if there was this safety here. Sure, pull your gun and let it go like this, and we'll blow it up. But yeah, it's insanity, and this is also not even. This is not even close to. What even is this? I cannot.
I know it's bad.
It's so bad.
So listen, they were this bad in the Patriots game, but we were kind of chilling because they won and the pass defense was good. But they've got strong roundup issues through 4 games. In too high on the season, they're giving up like 6.5 yards per carry. Like it's no longer like you're supposed to be worse than 2 high, but you're not supposed to be this bad. It's a crisis, frankly.
And which is that, Miles, Brady, or Ali, which is so upset about this? I don't know.
That was Brady's dramatic butt.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't Dodson's best game. Like here, he got a good run through and just couldn't quite finish the play. Incredible play from Montgomery. All right, so this is an example of Hankins playing great, and Reed and Jones doing a pretty good job. Again, the second level fits they have some difficulty, so they've decided to be gapped out. So post safety, we got 7 for their numbers. And it's a pin pull play, like Seattle's offense runs, and the second level struggles here. But just focus on Hankins. I mean, that's just not getting blocked. For a big man to do that is so impressive.
Yeah. Yep. Him
But
working down the line like that.
yeah, and he's able to make that play because initially he's kind of sealed off because of Draymond Jones on the edge, which we've critiqued Jones, but that's pretty textbook way of taking it on.
Mm-hmm.
Really good
Also,
angle of attack.
yep. A good
And
job by Dodson overlapping because Knight gets cut off.
yeah, so that's what I want to talk about. Knight ideally needs to go over the top of this, right?
Yeah.
Dodson does a good job to overlap. Jenkins, I guess he's trying to clear that this isn't a route, but he's quite slow. Anyway.
Well, I think he sees his initial gap disappear, and then he's like, "Oh, there must be pullers then,"
Right.
because he's thinking, "Do I need to keep inside on the tight end?" And he's like, "Wait, what?" I don't know.
And it's good work from Reed anchoring again and recognizing the blocks.
Yeah.
Not getting washed back. Okay. So there was a few communication issues as well. So this isn't again a poor Dodson play, unfortunately. So it's a 2nd and 9. It's a clever play design from Detroit because they are in their same personnel where there's their fullback or tight end or whatever you want to call him. I know SIS I think charts him as a tight end, which is a bit frustrating. So anyway, fullback, tight end, wide out, tailback. So you're going to match that with base on 2nd and 9, especially when you're struggling to stop the run. So Seattle comes out in base defense, which is understandable, and then under front. So here's our Sam, outside linebacker. Here's our rush, and they've called in man coverage in their base underlook. And usually in man coverage, the Sam sometimes has to play the tight end in man, and then the backers would play 2 on this 1 running back, and wherever the running back goes, if he goes this way, then I take him man to man, I become the rat. If he goes this way, I take him man to man, I become the rat. But they also are recognizing the tight end. This is quite hard to describe, but there's a diagram of it on my Twitter. But the idea is we are funneling this guy and this guy between the 3 of us. But typically that's in 2 back looks. Because it's 1 back, how it should play out, and it's they would not, I don't think, have practiced this play against this formation. Or they'd have practiced it way less against this type of formation. But how I think it should be is 2 on the 1. If the tight end were... I don't know. Yeah. That's just how they have... And then the Sam has to lock up on the tight end.
Right. Unless he runs a shallow. Right.
Right.
So if you get split flow, it kind of defines itself pretty quick. If the running back goes weak, then Dodson has to keep inside leverage on the shallow. And then Bowser becomes the new Dodson. He becomes the new rat, the new Mike, essentially.
Yeah. So if you watch it play out, which is the easiest way to describe this, the running back runs out into the flat. So Knight takes him out. It's to his side. That's correct. Bowser plays man on the tight end, and he plays outside leverage, thinking he's got help here from Dodson. So you'll notice Bowser then becomes the rat, and he points this off for Dodson to take. I have no idea what Dodson is doing.
I don't know. And like even off the snap, he's late, and I think he gets stuck reading the quarterback again.
But it's man coverage.
I know. Because initially, when you're a rat, you're a zone player kind of first, right?
Yeah, but so he thinks the back is to the side of Knight, so he's not my concern. I'll play QBIs.
His initial opening is too much to the 2 instead of the 3.
Yeah, you can tell he's confused at the snap.
Yeah. Like, what are they running right here? Are they running arches, F post?
Goff is so shocked that came open. Yeah, he's trying to hit Amon Ra. He could have done probably.
Yeah, I could have. Then
Anyway.
pretty good pocket movement from Jared too. A
Yeah.
good rush from Jared Reed. But just, I mean, dude, Dodson was really rough this game, man. He's been rough at the other things that we talked about all season, but he was rough kind of in other areas as well.
I don't understand this goal line run fit either. Like, they don't have a B gap. Wait, hold on. It's just bad. Like, they're missing an interior fit. I guess they're trying to get run throughs, but alright, so this is an example of not tackling the check down, which was what Macdonald's talking about. So this is 2nd and 2. This is a play where if this is Boye Mafe, if this is Uchenna Nwosu, if this is Darryl Taylor, they probably are better in this situation. But to me, it also speaks of poor preparation. Like, I know they haven't had Gibson in the building as long, but this is like they'll have walked this play through, so it's a poor one. First of all, though, Griff, it's a cover 3 simulated pressure or creeper where they're slanting. We're dropping here, weak hook, strong hook.
This is good from Knight, though.
And this is a real positive from Tyrese Knight. So he's
Knight has showed more here than Dodson has through 5 years of playing in the NFL. Like, and it's the same coaches coaching them. I just don't think Dodson has it, man.
It's not even a good drop from Dodson. Like, he should be with QB looking downhill.
Yeah.
Like, hello.
He's kind of, yeah.
Stafford's gonna do him.
Yeah. But really good stuff. What I like from Knight here, obviously, is overlapping to the 3, kind of matching the final 3. What I like about this is it's 2x2. So normally to a 3 receiver set, you'd be super aggressive. The running back isn't even running to the flat, making it a fast 3. So he's just being alert to the crossing route and giving the defense hook overlap. That's really
look at his eyes.
Yep, he's peeking stuff. That's just good defense, man. That's a good hook drop right there.
Yeah, because typically your landmark in this area would be 1 yard outside the hash, right? Mm-hmm. Or no, you're to the boundary, so you're back on the hash.
Probably. Yeah.
I've been coaching on college hash marks too long, but anyway, Goff looks hard out here with a shoulder point, so we can get slightly wider in our drop, which we do. Then Goff starts shoulder point hard away, so let's have a look where he's looking. Oh, there's a route, and the back's in. I haven't been threatened here, so Knight's ready to break on the football as the QB sets up, and this is his threat in the coverage. And so, as Griff said, hook overlap. That's a really good job from Knight. Now, this is an example of Goff doing a great job. If you watch Gibson here, he does a good drop initially. You can tell he's a bit clunky with it. This QB vision is clearly been coached. Like, let's have our eyes on the quarterback when we're in zone. I've read some McDonald stuff which it emphasizes quarterback vision, but this is just so poor. Like, it's just ball watching basically. Should never get there. It should be basically as soon as he's in trouble, it should be we need to plaster the guy. And for them to have this play, this is a really common play. You send the field nickel, you drop the boundary edge, you play field rotation cover 3. I think it's called Favre, isn't it? Or is it Brady because it's to the boundary?
I don't know.
To the boundary, but they're named after quarterbacks. I know he has Manning. Don't ask me how I know that. Anyway, it's just crap.
Yeah. Talk about guys that are sitting ducks in coverage. They're a lot of the second level. They've got sitting ducks, man.
But anyway, this is what Macdonald meant about not tackling the check down, because if they tackle the check down there, what was the down and distance? 2nd and 2, but it's short. It should be a sack, really. And Spoon will be disappointed that he did a great job beating the back.
Beating the block, yeah.
He just got done by Goff. What a baller!
Yeah. Devin Witherspoon is frankly like one of the 5 most interesting defensive players in the league.
Just his reckless abandon makes him the
versatility,
such an interesting, unique player.
Yeah.
This is better. So it's just these two, and they've got 2 guys not in there. But this is a good job of, if you watch, particularly Tyrese Knight, watch his eyes. So his gap was in here or here, but then as this guy comes back across, he needs to full back his gap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's A to C. It's a good job not getting too thick into this gap, but then falling back over the top and making the tackle.
Low pad level 2 available.
Square, good hand usage. It's a hell of a play from Reed.
Yeah.
As the 4-eye. to use the leverage like this, to like pull him through and rip.
Yeah. Reducing down like that late.
Yeah.
He's playing, I mean, he and Hankins are playing hero ball.
Yeah.
But
then that's why I know they had injuries, but all the talk about the injuries, like Hankins and Reed playing cracked still.
Yeah. But better from Knight, like you said. So.
Oh snap! This actually might have been cover 3. In which case, they're ball fitting still for some reason. But anyway.
Or maybe they're not, and they're just late to fall back.
Yeah, maybe.
But still good from Knight to kind of be available, because that would technically be Julian then, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And I also felt, 2nd and 8, so I get Macdonald wanting to play a bit too high, but I felt he was late to adapt, which is something he himself acknowledged. This is a really poor play call. I've seen Seattle do this before, but this is insane. Like, you are asking for this to happen. So you're playing 2 high safeties. You have a pair of tight ends. Because you basically 2 high safeties. If you get a pair like this, or you just get a tight end, it would be nice to bring your corner in as the force. But whenever you get pair trips like this, where there's 1, 2, 3, the corner, particularly to the field side, you can't ask him to be a force player. You want him to play coverage to the run. So basically your edge becomes incredibly weak unless you do something like walk this guy out here, or change how you're playing your front, basically. Like shift all these guys along a bit more. It reminds me of the 2022 when we watched Griff them against Pittsburgh in the preseason, and we're like, oh, they're trying some interesting things in the run game that could work. They're still learning it.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, it just flat out doesn't work. Like, it's the softest edge ever. This is putting players in a position to fail. This is nothing to do with.
Yeah, look at Hall. Look at the sideline. I mean, he could have been looking at the sideline for anything, but look at that right there, 58.
So what do you want? What do you expect me to do? Like, I've just dominated my rep, but we straight up just do not have a forced. It's basically playing without a forced defender. Yeah. So how is it supposed to work? Is it supposed to be?
Yeah, I think this case, Devin is ball fitting too. He's not just one gap. I mean, this is straight up Tampa 2
triple teamed.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't work. You can't do this. If you want to fit like this, you got to have so many tools up front.
You got to stunt, which we still haven't seen Macdonald do much of.
Right. We've seen
And
full line
again,
splits, right?
linebacker alignment does not make sense. Why if we're all ball fitting, and I know this guy's going to play super heavy, then I should be here because this is where the pair is. Like we're weak here. We're okay here. We should be here and here, no? And even this guy's less conflicted. Like he doesn't have to deal with. I don't understand. They align like they're playing gapped out.
But like they don't have a second gap to be.
Yeah, like they're just single gap. Like just go down on it.
Yeah, it seems like Knight should be in like a 20-eye. And then Dodson should be in a
50-11. They did solve their run game for the first half of the season, so I was correct. Then what happened was Uchenna Nwosu, their most impactful run defender, got hurt. And they were quite static up front and kept running the same thing and then didn't get on top of the answers, and they had a linebacker who couldn't move. So I hope that answered your question. But they did solve their run game for the first half of the season, so I don't know what I'm answering for, really. Like, we saw it work, and then why didn't it work? Because the NFL evolves. Speaks to how bad they evolved and how bad Seahawks didn't evolve in the second half of the season. But it worked. So it's a kind of a weird comment, to be honest. But I'm not mad.
Hey, no one's mad about the Seahawks last year. We've all moved on. Everybody. All factions have moved on from last year. That's why no one brings it up anymore.
And no one's been timed out. Okay. Yeah, so that's bad. Hey, positive though. It's okay, Brady. It's fine. Brady, it's fine. It's okay. The game's over now. Positive though. Julian Love's tackle into the alley. His tracking. I mean, this is a tough tackle. Look at this. Great eyes. Good breakdown of the feet. Good lowering of the target. Eyes through the thighs. You'd like a wrap, but he brings the guy down.
Yeah. Love's playing good ball.
All right. Well, Griff, I know you don't have too much longer. Do
you want to keep going? I can pop out and you can keep going.
No, it's okay. It's upsetting me. Right. I think this is a good example of like the second level play and it not being exclusive to the linebackers, and there's some stuff with their fire zone script that we haven't got to, but I just wonder how they're being coached. But anyway, this is 2nd and 7. So they've got the same pair look, but they're playing single high now, so they're gapped out to it. They're not in as worse a position. This is poor communication, I imagine. Like, as soon as Spoon's guy goes like this, he needs to be screaming crack, crack, crack. He may have done, we'll never know. But the way that Jenkins plays it,
yeah.
To me, it's like...
They all need to gain a gap inside, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that was my read. So if we just play it through from the end zone, essentially, Jenkins needs to see this and fold in here.
And then Kobe needs to get inside the tight end.
Why are they in? Oh, so they're in big nickel. Big nickel playing Buzz. I mean, that can't be your answer against 12 personnel duo when you're getting your butt kicked, though, right?
You'd think, but even if it is, they're still not even giving themselves the chance. Because the things that are in their control in this snap, they still screw up. Like, look at Kobe. Look at Kobe's leverage on the block.
Yeah, that is insane. He has to be here. And Jenkins has to be here, and yeah.
And otherwise they're gapped out. The ball is nowhere to go, but they out-leverage themselves. And it squirts right through. Bang. Like, come on. It's really shitty fundamentals.
It shows how much emphasis they put on under center run fits at the second level,
Yeah.
or how
Which is
badly
just
they've coached it if they have been putting emphasis on that, because it just doesn't show up.
right. So this game, though, in one high, they gave up 3.9 yards per carry.
Right, which is
Which doesn't sound,
surprising.
which doesn't sound bad, but that actually is pretty bad for one high, to be frank.
Okay.
I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not good, rather. It's average, maybe. But in two high, they gave up like 7 yards per carry. I think 7.3. 7.3 yards per carry. It's too high. How many offenses in this league are not eclipsing 7.3 yards per attempt against too high right now? I bet you 2/3 of them aren't. The Lions were better off running the ball than like 20 teams were throwing it this week against the Seahawks when they were presented a too high shot. This
is a crazy play from Reed.
Crazy play from Reed, and again, Dodson just not being able. I mean, something we could say about Dodson, he doesn't take on contact well, and I have sympathy for linebackers when they're running from too high because it really exposes that like strength.
Everyone's seeing my email, my burner email. Why is that?
But like linebackers can't handle it, and but Dodson especially can't handle it, and there's a little pin and fold here going on the backside of.
Yeah, this is really clever from Detroit. Like this thing here.
Yeah,
it's just a way of going, okay, you can try do your two gap. We're just going to stick a guy right there so that when you try and fall back, you're blocked.
Right.
This could have been maybe should have been a touchdown. Like if you pause it here, you like that's off to the races, right? The running back Gibbs is probably getting quite excited. Reed doing this is so impressive.
Yeah.
And Dodson gets lucky with how he like turns his butt into Gibbs.
Yeah. Dodson's maybe getting held, but I mean, they got to do something to help the linebackers out.
Yeah. So again, guys, it would be press here, and then full back here, press here, and then full back here. And you heard Mike Macdonald say in that mic'd up segment, press the A and full back into the C. And this is the type of scenario he was talking about. And he's coaching Tyrese Knight up on it. It's good hand usage from Knight. His pad level's good, and the way he is sort of levering like this and getting under the pads of linemen that is a real positive.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Agreed. I mean, Knight's their best linebacker at this point. And he wasn't perfect this game by any stretch, but he is showing more promise than Dodson, and he's younger. I don't think they'll do it, but like I want to see Baker at Mike, and I want to see Knight at Will.
I think they will. I think they will try that. I mean, if this continues, I think they'll mix up their personnel packages more.
Yeah. I still think Dodson could work at Will in a perfect world, but I don't want to put Mike responsibilities on Knight either. So it's just kind of awkward right now.
Right. It's very awkward. Oh, crap. We haven't even previewed the Giants game.
Do we want to pivot and do that?
Yeah, real quick. Okay, Griff. So the Giants up next.
God. Insane ending to TNF.
I know. I didn't see it, though. Like, I saw that they scored a touchdown.
Well, it just happened unless I'm behind.
You're very behind, I think.
Oh, shoot. That's insane.
Who was it? Drake London?
I think it was Hodge. I don't know.
Oh no, they couldn't tackle.
They couldn't squeeze him going up the middle. That's crazy. So Giants game. It's a game they should win by like 20 points. They're built to destroy this team.
Yeah, it's a get right game. I know I went on a Giants podcast in the week and they're so done with Daniel Jones. Like
Are they?
And I don't know whether Malik Neighbours or not is up in the air if he plays or not because he had a concussion, but or has a
They should
concussion.
start Drew.
Yeah, Drew Lock revenge game.
Drew Lock revenge game.
But like Neighbours versus Reek Woolen would be such a fun battle. I'm not sure he's going to play, and if he doesn't play, their offense is like. The one thing apparently they're good at is duo run game, which I mean we've just seen Seattle struggle with duo. So
yeah,
but this is the type of game where when they run blitz, which Macdonald started trying to run blitz to stay on top of the run, and they got hit for that big bust, among other things. It didn't really work that well because they're taking blocks on too thick and leveraging stuff wrong as well. But it's the type of game where if they run blitz against the Giants, it should probably work, particularly if Neighbours isn't there. So
right. Yeah,
my
I don't know
score
what Table and Kafka are going to do.
Right.
Especially if Neighbours isn't in there. It's just going to be a disgusting game to watch. I think it's going to be like 33-12.
Yeah, my score prediction was 31-10 Seahawks,
31.
which
All right, I'll go 33-16 Seahawks.
Yeah.
They get one weird scoring drive in there.
And we haven't seen one Jumbo tonight, but I know he has or they have created the tracker.
That's right.
So
the Giants' defense on early downs is like respectable, but then third downs they're just terrible.
Yeah, so are they like a big cover 3 team? Like bad cover 3?
I think they play a lot of man and a lot of like quarters. Because Shane Bowen, Vrabel, Belichick.
Okay. They might like try and do some weird crap which causes this past game some issues, and then I don't know. But for me, it's a big game because Seattle is expected to win. They're coming off a defeat. How does Macdonald handle all of that? Like, it's a really interesting situation for.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of want to win, almost maybe too much, but there's also going to be, the feelings from this past defeat and then the expectation that they should win as well. And it's the NFL where in any given week something can happen. So there's like an interesting, off-field, early head coach management side to this one. So,
right.
As Jay asked, will this be the game where the defense finally breaks their turnover drought and gets multiple takeaways? Of course, they haven't had a takeaway since week 1, which
I think it'll be hard to do that minus like a sack fumble just because of where the ball is going to go. I mean, really, this game is set up to go like last year's Giants game did. Everything's going to be thrown into the flat.
Flat, rally to the flat, make the tackle. It's basically going to look like the first 3 weeks for the Seahawks. Just tackling practice in the flat.
Yeah, and then, yeah. So, yeah. It's going to be a boring victory. That 49ers game is going to hit hard. It's going to hit really hard.
Yep, they'll be coming up quick on the Thursday, so we won't be doing a tape podcast that Thursday. But yeah, join us, please, guys, after the game on Sunday. We have 2 questions. Do you think our scheme and personnel on defense can hold up against powerful O-lines? Thinking of last year in the Pats Lions this season. Thanks, guys. Asked Vince.
I think the D-line can give anyone work.
They can hold up. They're not going to be outmanned, like out-talented. They're very talented. But the rest of that, I have concerns.
Like we still haven't seen the Nwosu, right? Like we're talking about not having Mafe and Leo and Murphy, but like what about Nwosu?
Right.
I mean, they really have an embarrassment of riches up front if they're all healthy. So that will be their saving grace, perhaps their equalizer against the really good teams.
Yeah.
But it's just when they're not getting pressure, they're going to get sliced and diced.
Yeah. And Brandon asks, is Draymond Jones doing anything good? Yeah, he was good in this game. Credit to him. He was solid. He did a fine job. I think he's probably not what he's been paid to do, but yeah.
I mean, he's Quentin Jefferson. So whatever you think of Quentin Jefferson, I have positive connotations, but he's not a Pro Bowler. That's how I perceive Draymond, it's just hard with, that contract. They wanted Zach Allen also, and I think they're kicking themselves that they didn't get Allen. But
yep. Julian
was
Love was a
Giant.
Giant, so was Leonard Williams, and so was Jonathan Hankins. So it's a bit of a...
That's right. Julian and Leo were teammates. I don't know why I memory hold that. I knew both of them were Giants. I just didn't that they didn't put 2 and 2 together. That meant they've also played together. We just need to get Dexter Lawrence next to replace Jaron Reed and Hankins next year.
There you go. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Anything else, Griff?
Justice for the people that Matty's banned tonight.
Person. Person. If you can even call them that, because they don't acknowledge how good the run defense was for the first half of the season.
No closing wisdom. Matty, you should watch Rings of Power. You should become a Lord of the Rings nerd.
But that wasn't wisdom. Well, then
No.
why would I follow it?
You still need to watch Children of Men.
I do. But potentially tomorrow.
There you go.
All right, guys. See you on Sunday. Hopefully, we're back with a victorious Overload and a 4-1.
We will. There's no chance. If they